Always saying, I wonder what those Christians are going to do to me next.
Take a look at another example where Kenneth Copeland can be seen doing this sign. This clip is from one of his own programs. Watch his left hand here as he does the sign.
This is the Believer's Voice of Victor broadcast. Today, Gloria Copeland, my wife, will be concluding her series on the Spirit of Faith. This is the Believer's Voice of Victor broadcast. Today, Gloria Copeland, my wife, will be concluding her series on the Spirit of Faith.
Now, just before I show you this next example in which Kenneth Copeland can be seen doing what is known as witchcraft rooting, let me first play you a clip from Jeff Godwin's What's Wrong with Christian Rock video, where he's showing examples of people doing this.
There's another part of this video you need to be aware of. Strange hand movements and strange body stances are throughout MT.
Listen very carefully here. He knows what he's doing when he does this. Watch him as he tries to disguise the rooting by making it look as though he's just expressing his preaching through his hands. Compare what you're about to see here with what we just saw.
Sunday, on the Believer's Voice of Victory.
The fire of righteousness is coming, and it's got healing in its flow, and in its fire, in its tongues, and in its shafts of splendor. It's coming, it's coming.
Watch Kenneth Copeland this Sunday on the Believer's Voice of Victory. Check your local listings for time and channel. Sunday, on the Believer's Voice of Victory.
The fire of righteousness is coming, and it's got healing in its flow, and in its fire, in its tongues, and in its shafts of splendor. It's coming, it's coming.
Watch Kenneth Copeland this Sunday on the Believer's Voice of Victory. Check your local listings for time and channel.
If there is any one of you, after viewing that demonstration of pure witchcraft, who still has any doubts as to this man being a Satanist, how much more evidence do you need to see? The evidence is as clear as daylight. Let me show you another Satanist who can be seen doing this sign. This is Jesse Duplantis. If you remember on part 1, I showed you examples of him communicating to Satan as he was making out to be speaking in tongues. Watch his right hand here and you'll see him doing the sign.
I don't wait for the devil to attack me. I do know when I start doing things for God in a big way, like buying more television time, building, you know.
Watch this one also where he can be seen doing it again. This one is very clear. Watch him as he raises his right hand and does the sign of allegiance to Satan.
Let me tell you why you asked this guy for his address. He said, why? I said, you're going to bless him. He said, yeah, I'm going to send him an offering. I said, me too. And we did, and it was a good offering. You know what we were? Hidden channels of communication. God had prepared that man to meet us so we could be a blessing to him, to put some fruit in his life. He said, yeah, I'm going to send him an offering. I said, me too. And we did, and it was a good offering. You know what we were? Hidden channels of communication. God had prepared that man to meet us so we could be a blessing to him, to put some fruit in his life.
The next few examples that I'll be showing you are all from a meeting that Jesse Duplantis held in Australia. Let me begin by showing you another example of Jesse Duplantis doing this sign. Now on this one you can hear him quickly say the words, I'm with Satan, immediately after he does the sign. There are only two possible explanations for what he says here. It is either him doing this deliberately or a demon speaking out of him that says this. Watch his right hand very carefully as he does the sign and then quickly says the words, I'm with Satan.
They recite the Lord's word. I'm going to tell them, they recite the Lord's word. I'm going to tell them, they recite the Lord's word. I'm going to tell them, recite the Lord's word. I'm going to tell them, recite the Lord's word. I'm going to tell them, I'm telling you, he would kill you in the name of Jehovah, even though he knew not Jehovah in his heart. He knew Jehovah as law, as the Ten Commandments as the lawgiver. He didn't know God, or he didn't know Jehovah as Father. He was a reciter of learned words. I'm going to tell you something, a reciter of learned words is a very dangerous individual. You get a real religious person that doesn't know Jesus, they're the most dangerous people in the community. They shut down the power of God. The traditions of men have made the word of God of none effect. They're the most dangerous people on the planet Earth. It's not the criminals that are in prison. No. It's those religious, put that camera by my face. It's you religious fanatics that are Pharisees and putting people in bondages and chains and not giving them any way out and saying, you've got to do this, you got to do this. Let me tell you what you got to do.
I just showed you a bit of his preaching there so that you could see, as I have said before, that Satanists can preach. Don't ever be fooled by how well they may preach. It is not the Spirit of God that preaches through these men. What you just witnessed there was Satan's ability to preach through those who belong to him. If any of you have any doubts about what I'm saying here, I'll show you that this is the truth by taking you to this next clip from the same meeting about 5 minutes after that one. Here he's telling a story about his grandmother. He says that when he was young, she tried everything she could to get him saved. As he's telling this story, he starts to mimic his grandmother. As he begins to do this, you can hear him let his filthy tongue loose and say the words, "Go and F Satan." Listen to this carefully as he says the words very quickly and thinks that no one will pick this up. Listen for the words, "Go and F Satan."
I love she gets so busted. I love you. She gets so busted. I love you, you she gets so busted. I love you, you she gets so busted. I love you, you I said, Grandma, her name was Shu Yan Luke, that was her name. I said, Mama, I said, I'm going amongst the Philistines to find me a Delilah. She gets so mad at me. Take me now, Lord, take me now. I said, take her, man, take the woman, go ahead. He's driving everybody nuts. But see, my mother, I could shut my grandma down. She gets so busted. I love you, you're my grandson, but not Mama. Mama, she wouldn't give up.
To that Jesse Duplantis meeting to show you a few more things. On this next one, you'll see what kind of a blasphemous spirit it is that is moving this man. As he says that when you become a son of God, you become a son that serves Satan. He's preaching from John chapter 1 and verse 12 here. After quoting some of the verse, he says that God is not interested in you being a servant, but he's interested in you being a son. But when you become a son, you become a son that serves. Just after he says that, he then pauses for a second or two, and then you can hear him say the word Satan. None of you should have any problems hearing this, as it is very clear. So what I'll do for you is play you the whole statement and then pause it just after he says Satan. Listen for the word Satan at the very end of what he says here.
See, God's not interested in you being a servant. He's interested in you being a son. But when you become a son, you're a son that serves. See, God's not interested in you being a servant. He's interested in you being a son. But when you become a son, you're a son that serves. See? But when you become a son, you're a son that serves. See? But when you become a son, you're a son that serves. St. John chapter 1 verse 12 says, but as many as received him, it didn't say as many as believed him, you got to listen to God. See, God's not interested in you being a servant, he's interested in you being a son. But when you become a son, you're a son that serves. See, he's more interested in getting you in the family. Once he gets
much more that I could show you from just that one meeting in that church where the Toronto movement is flourishing. I can tell you for certain that the Richmond Assemblies of God Church in Melbourne, Australia is a church that is run by Satanists. To quickly say the words, that's glory Satan. He probably thinks that his voice won't be heard being a fair distance away from the microphone. Listen carefully for this and you'll pick it up. Listen for Benny Hinn's voice and you'll hear him say, that's glory Satan.
That's glory Satan. That's glory Satan. That's glory Satan. That's glory Satan.